Good morning, everyone, and you're welcome back to our channel once again. Today, we are going to discuss organization of life. I hope that all the other videos we've been putting out, you've been watching them. The essence of doing these videos is so that if you have a test assignment or exam on this particular topic, you can come and get some knowledge, get some information that you can use to write down in these test exams or classes. Now, today we are going to be discussing organization of life. It's important to realize that in life, organisms are different levels of organization of life. Now you have the lowest level, which is the cell. From there you have the tissues. From there you have organ. Then you have system, and then the complex organism. It's important to know these different stages and what we have, what is obtainable in all these different stages. The first stage is the cellular level, and now we know that the cell is the basic unit of life. There are some organisms that exist at this cellular level, and what this means is that those organisms are unicellular in nature, meaning that a single cell carries out all the different life processes. And this is important to know. Examples of such organisms are the amoeba, the paramecium, the euglena. These are all examples of organisms that exist at the cellular level. Now, apart from that, within the complex organisms, there are cells, different cells that carry out different functions. And this is important to know. Within the human being, for an example, you have rod and cone cells, which are cells of the eye, and they perform different functions. Within the plants, we have phloem and xylem cells, which perform different functions. So the cell is the basic unit of life and is the first level of the organization of life. The next level of the organization of life is the tissue. So tissues are where we have different cells coming together. They come together and form what we call tissues, and these tissues perform particular functions. Now, there are also organisms that exist at this level of the tissue. Some organisms that exist at this level include hydra, include some fungi, include sponges. All these organisms exist at the level of the tissue. Now, within complex organisms, tissues are cells that have come together to perform a particular function. A very good example is blood. Blood is made up of red blood cells and white blood cells. These different cells come together to form what we know or what we call blood. So we also have bones. Bones are solid tissues. They are tissues, they are made up of different cells that have come together to form bone. So you have cells and then you have tissues. So after cells and tissues, you also now have organs. Organs are structures that are conglomerate. When you have coming together of different tissues, they form what we call organs, and those organs carry out different functions within the complex organism. Organs within the human being include structures such as the ear. You have structures such as stomach, the kidney, the liver, the pancreas. These are all organs and they perform different functions. So the way it is, within the organs you have tissues. Within the tissues, you have cells. So cells will come together to form tissue. Tissue will come together to form organs. From organs, we move up to what we call system. Now, within the organism, there are different systems, and these systems help to carry out particular functions within the organism. You have about 9 to 10 systems that are carrying out different functions within the organism. You have the reproductive system, you have the digestive system, you have the excretory system, you have the nervous system. All these different systems are carrying out different functions. So just as we said, at the level of the system now, taking the digestive system as an example, we have different organs within the digestive system, and these organs are performing different functions. So within the digestive system, you have the mouth, you have the esophagus, you have the stomach, you have the liver, you have the pancreas, you have the small intestine, you have the large intestine, and then you have the anus. All these structures are organs, and they are there to help carry out the whole process of digestion. So within each of all these organs that I've mentioned, if you go into those organs, you can see different tissues performing different functions, and if you go into the tissues, you see different cells. So those systems, you have different systems performing different functions. So when you have these different systems come together, they now come together to form the complex organism that has all these different systems and organs functioning in different capacities to keep the organism alive. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages of being a complex organism. One of the advantages of being a complex organism is cellular differentiation. And what cellular differentiation means is that this organism has different cells, and these different cells have different functions and characteristics. Very simply put, if you take a cell from the stomach and you take a cell from the eye of the same human being, The cells from the stomach and the cells from the eye are both living cells, but they look different. They perform different functions. They have slight variations due to their level of functionality, due to the different functions that they are engaged in. So they look different, and there are minor differences between them. So cellular differentiation is an important advantage of being a complex organism. Now, another advantage of being a complex organism is the presence of structures that are of a more efficient way of carrying out activities. Many activities that the superior organism or the complex organism carries out are usually done in a more efficient way. So resources are distributed more efficiently because there are a lot of cells to cater for. These are some of the advantages which we can see in a complex organism. There's higher efficiency, there's cellular differentiation, there's also internal specialization. And internal specialization means when you look into the structure of a complex organism, it has specialization, it has different organs performing different functions. It doesn't have organs doing 2-3 functions. If you have an organ carrying out digestive processes, it focuses on that. It won't be carrying out digestive and be carrying out reproductive. So it's not supposed to work like that. We see that now. So what are some of the disadvantages of the complex system? A complex system, some of the disadvantages is that resources, it's difficult to diffuse resources, to share resources through the organism. It takes time for these resources to be shared through the organism. Takes time, so it is slower for these resources to go through. Another important problem that complex organisms face is the difficulty in reproduction. The simpler organisms are able to undergo maybe binary fission, so it's not difficult for them to reproduce. But the more complex organisms find reproduction more difficult because they need to look for a mate, they need to look for a secure location, and then when even the seed has been planted, time is taken for the seed to grow and then the child to be given birth to. So reproduction is quite difficult in more complex organisms than it is for simpler organisms. Now, this brings us to the end of this class. We have discussed majorly levels of organization of life: cellular level, tissue level, organ level, system level, and then the complex organism, and then some advantages and some disadvantages of being a complex organism. I hope you've understood this class, and I hope that this helps you when you have assignments or tests or exams. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.